Yesterday, we saw Micah Parsons back in that number 11 jersey for the first time since making his trade request. Not sure if that has any meaning at all as he continues to hold in. What can you tell us about the situation right now?
Yeah, Hannah, we know the baseball term, no runs, no hits, no errors, no trade calls, no talks on a new deal, no nothing. And we really don't know what will be the thing that thaws the ice between the two sides. I've asked around, and it's just where we are. And this is how long it's going to take, and nobody really knows. So then you have to play it out beyond this season as what could happen. He plays out the year in the fifth-year option, and then you're looking at the franchise tag possibility in 2026, in 2027, in 2028 maybe. So this might not be the last we've talked about, certainly not the last. We've talked about Micah's contract. On the field, Brian Schottenheimer said even where everything is right now, the Cowboys, the coaches are planning on everything with Micah, moving around the defense, getting him ready for the season as if he will play September 4th against the Eagles. But so far, at least he's in his jersey, Hannah, like you said. But yesterday, no socks, or no shoes. I'm sorry, just socks.
No shirt, no shoes, no problem. Listen, the Cowboys got a big problem. Officially less than a month away from their opener against the Eagles. And this is a pattern, as we know. Jerry Jones has not been afraid to take extension talks down to the wire. It took until August 24th of last year to get that deal done with C.D. Lamb. It took all the way up until a couple of hours, remember, before opening kickoff to sign Dak Prescott to an extension. Both of them eventually were rewarded. Lamb is now the third highest paid wide receiver by average annual value. Dak is the highest paid quarterback, but there's a lot of pain and angst to get there. And Marcus Spears is right in the middle of it. Swagoo, you just heard Todd Archer say, no, nothing. There is nothing going on. How concerned are you?
I'm concerned, but I'm concerned, Hannah, from the football standpoint of things. Like, we've seen contract disputes, we've seen them go all the way to your point, like you talked about Dak, all the way up until hours before a game. And initially, I was going to have this crazy reaction to Micah demanding a trade and all of that. And my mind shifted right back to Myles Garrett and how he demanded a trade and ended up being the highest paid. So it could be a negotiating tactic. The problem is that this is three now summers in a row where Dallas has had their face of their franchise unsigned, not participating in team activities. And we're talking about a team with a new head coach, in Micah's case, a new defensive coordinator in Eberflus, and we don't have the best player, one of the top 5 defensive players in the NFL on the field to get things going. Therein lies my issue. Like, the contract stuff, we could talk for 3 hours about how bad and mishandled this has been, from getting him signed earlier, giving you flexibility to do other things, all the way up until this war of words in the media, seemingly between Micah and Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones more so than anybody. It's a bad situation. And I don't know if money is going to fix the relationship. And I know a lot of people, well, he gonna get paid, everything will be fine, he'll just play football. But when you're counting on a guy like Micah to be the leader of your team, to be one of the faces of your franchise, and even though he has money in his pocket, he may feel unsupported, that could be an issue within the locker room, and which can permeate and translate to on the field. And it's always been that for me. The way Jerry handles business affects the actual play of football when the games start. And that is something I've been screaming for a number of years when it comes to Dallas.
Yeah, I 100% see the comparison to Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. And I'll go back to Ezekiel Elliott a few years before even Dak got his money, in that Jerry does wait till the last second. But I also got the feeling Jerry loved Ezekiel Elliott. Even when Zeke was in Cabo, like, Jerry loved Zeke. That was his guy. Took him 4th overall. That was his guy. Jerry loves Dak, and Jerry loves CeeDee Lamb. I don't get the feeling Jerry Jones loves Micah Parsons. At no point over the last 12 months has there been any sort of roses, flowers, bouquets thrown his way, or any confidence that you get that this relationship is something that is akin to those other ones. I get the feeling that he felt he had a deal with Micah Parsons, maybe against his better judgment, because I didn't even feel like when we were hearing that there was some great fondness for the two. I don't think he respects the agent. I don't think he respects hearing about the agent. I certainly don't think he respects hearing us on ESPN all day saying how great the agent is. And I think Jerry's a businessman and he wants to win this one. So I don't think this is as clean as, you know what, 11:59 a.m. kickoff weekend. You know, Adam Schefter is going to come on and say, breaking news, Micah agreed. And everyone's going to say, yeah, we knew. I think this one gets a little hairier. And this might not be the only time both sides are talking out publicly about each other.
I hear both of you. I just think that Jerry Jones loves sacks, and I think that Micah Parsons loves money. And I think that that's what it's come down to for both of them. You know, Swagger, you were talking about the idea of negotiations and like, is this just a negotiation tactic, the idea that he put out the trade request? I say absolutely yes. Anything that is done in public is a negotiating tactic. You don't say that you want to be traded if you actually do. You go behind the scenes and do things quietly for the team to leverage it the best way possible. In this case, to me, this says, I do want to be here and I want you to pay me so that I don't have to leave. And Jerry Jones is saying the same types of things. I just believe that ultimately it will get done at the end of the day. Maybe I'm being too naive about this. I just think that one person in Jerry Jones loves production, and I believe that one person in Micah Parsons loves money, and that's what gets this done.
All right, let's talk about the team that they are scrimmaging against here, the Rams, because they actually had a signing today. JD, what happened?
Yeah, Kyren Williams, the running back, signing 3 years, $33 million, which is a really big deal for the Rams, but it's also a big deal across the landscape of the NFL. This is obviously important, especially when you see $23 million guaranteed. Again, very important for this Rams team, but we can also flip this over to what is happening in Buffalo right now with James Cook as an unexpected holdout from practice, a hold-in at training camp to the surprise of Brandon Beane. With James Cook seeking that contract, this could be exactly what he needs to be able to go back to Brandon Beane and say, all right, this deal with Williams got done. Now we have a little bit more of a blueprint for how this can happen. I think this made Williams the seventh paid, highest paid running back. We're not talking about any kind of like market setting deal here. So this kind of helps everybody understand where the market is. We'll see. Maybe this allows Cook to get his deal done as well.
Yeah, he had triple the touchdowns last season that he did the year before, 6 the year before, 18 last year. So we'll see if Williams helps to set that market. Meanwhile, another joint practice going on today between the Colts and the Ravens. Now, Lamar Jackson was excused from practice yesterday, but he was there today. The two-time MVP coming off his best passing season with career-high numbers, runner-up MVP, but has yet, of course, to reach the Super Bowl. Here he is on the cusp of his 8th season.
I feel like our offense is always room for improvement. You know, camp it can be we have good days, we have bad days, we have okay days, we have great days. You know, but I feel like it's always room for improvement. We right where we need to be right now. We don't see these guys every day. You know, we get to see different looks from different guys, different type of coverages, see how different guys guard different people, different blitzes and stuff like that. So definitely, we get a lot out of these type of joint practices.
And when it gets going for real, they're going to be tested early and often. The Ravens open the season where last season ended for them in Buffalo. Then in weeks 3 and 4, they play the Lions and the Chiefs, who each ended last year with 15-2 records. And then in weeks 5 and 6, they face the Texans and the Rams. Each of those teams won a playoff game last season. So that's 5 playoff teams in their first 6 games. But we know that the Ravens have one of the most complete rosters, top to bottom, in the NFL. So, Schrags, are you confident that they can start strong with that schedule?
Remember, they were about a millimeter shy of potentially beating the Chiefs in week 1, and then they lost to a good team in week 2, and they bounced back. And by week 3 last year, they blew out the Bills on national TV, and we're like, all right, Derrick Henry's getting settled. I have no doubt that this Ravens team is going to come ready to play. I also have no doubt that they are going to be a better team out of the gates. There were a lot of new players getting adjusted. And even in that first game against the Chiefs last year, Justice Hill was the primary back for that first 3 quarters before they started getting Derrick Henry going. This year, no surprises. Derrick Henry's going to run the ball up everyone's gut in the first few weeks, and they got better on defense. I'm really interested to see what we get out of Jair Alexander this year. That is a player that a couple years ago we were talking about as potentially being the best defensive back in all of football. Played 4 games in 2 years, and suddenly he's looked at as this injury-prone red flag. They got him on 40 cents on the dollar about what he could be if he is healthy. And Jair's been talking big this offseason. So I look at this team. I think they really went all in with Jair. They went all in with DeAndre Hopkins, and they brought back so many key players. There is no excuse left. And right out of the gates, there should be no false starts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing their start. Here's the deal, though. Like every team that the Ravens show up on their schedule, they saying, dang, we got a hell of a start to the season because they are one of those teams, like we looking at all of those teams that we have to play. Ultimately, it's going to boil down to the playoffs and how deep they can go and can they get to a Super Bowl and have an opportunity to win one. And I know we getting ahead of ourselves, but that's really how we look at the Baltimore Ravens through that prism. Will they get over the Patrick Mahomes hump like most teams in the AFC have to? Will they, the Cincinnati Bengals, we know their division, how good will Pittsburgh be as well? There's a lot of things that the Ravens can take week to week and not worry about the big picture, but we on TV. We work at ESPN for a certain reason. We in the preseason. We could talk about Super Bowl obviously being in the Ravens' future. And I think I don't think Lamar is going to feel good about having a good season or a good start. This team has put themselves in a position now where it's Super Bowl or bust. And I know everybody talks about that, but this team has been super close. AFC championships, deep playoff runs. Now it's time to get over the hump. The start will be great for positioning in the playoffs if they get it done, but nobody expects the Baltimore Ravens to be hurting coming out of week 6.
Mark is 100%. It's like being Phil Mickelson in the Tiger Woods era. Like, it's got to be exhausting for them because they've got the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes constantly. And honestly, the Bills are a similar sentiment when it comes to them, and to a lesser degree, the Bengals. It's all about just getting to the postseason for their chance at the champ. Like, I remember being in Buffalo and watching them, like, with all due respect, they deserved it. It was a great win when they beat the Chiefs at home, and everybody acted like this was their moment. When it was a regular season, it didn't matter. It did not matter. And like, it's the same thing for the Ravens at this point. They need their chance at the champ in the postseason. And all due respect, everything they do in the regular season is nice. But they could go 17-0, and if they lose again in the postseason, none of it matters.
Lindsay, let's talk about the Rams because they have a concern. At quarterback, Matthew Stafford is now seeing a specialist for his back issues. What's the latest? What's going on there?
Hannah, Matthew Stafford has seen that specialist twice for his back issues, and you mentioned it. There is some concern around the Rams almost 3 weeks now into training camp, and Stafford has yet to practice. He will not practice again today in their joint workout against the Cowboys. As you see, he is arriving. He is here, but he will not be throwing the football. It's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo taking those first-team reps, and as we know from covering Sean McVay, he puts a lot of emphasis on the importance of these joint workouts because he does not play starters in the preseason. As for Stafford, McVay has expressed some optimism about the progress there, saying he is progressing. Yesterday during a jog-through, he did work out on the side. As for the details of that workout, Sean McVay said, ask the training staff. Well, the training staff just walked behind me. I asked them. They laughed and said, we absolutely can't tell you how things are going. We have to say officially no comment. But again, there is some optimism. Sean McVay says they want to work him back into football, and hopefully in the near future, they will get him back out here, but no firm timeline has been established.
Listen, Lindsay, I know you can break them down. Just hang in there. I know you'll get some more information.
Yeah.
One thing we do know is
I won't stop, Hannah.
Yeah, I know you don't. And neither does Stafford. What a tough guy. We know all of the injuries and things that he's played for throughout the years. Teams have started to release their depth charts of the preseason, so we're going to provide some depth perception, try to read the tea leaves a little bit here. And we're going to start in Jacksonville, where the initial depth chart has Travis Hunter as a starting wide receiver and a second-string cornerback. Swagoo, what do you think when you hear that?
I think he's a Hall of Fame corner, but obviously, what the hell do I know? I've only been around football for a long time. We know Travis Hunter is supremely talented. He can play wide receiver at a very high level in the NFL, and he's talking about going both ways. But listing him as a wide receiver, obviously, has a phenomenal connotation. And I don't want anybody to forget that Brian Thomas Jr. made the Pro Bowl last year. So this could be two devastating weapons for the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, who needs to have a really good season this year.
Indeed, he does. All right, let's go to Indianapolis, where the initial depth chart lists the Colts starting quarterback as, well, pick 'em. Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. Their head coach Shane Steichen said moments ago Richardson's going to start the first preseason game. Jones is going to start the second. Jeff, what can you tell us about this QB competition?
Well, as you mentioned on the depth chart, it is listed, despite all the other positions being clearly ordered, Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson as the starting quarterback. But that is a development that we just heard recently, that Anthony Richardson will start the first preseason game. Daniel Jones will start the second preseason game. So Richardson gonna get his first chance to make that impression. We were talking about what Shedeur Sanders can do. Richardson has been around longer, obviously, and has played in the system and has familiarity with the Colts, but he still has to go out and win this job. Now, it is important to note that Steichen did say that Daniel Jones will start the second preseason game. It's not as if Richardson can simply run away with this thing, but he can very well make a good impression and work toward getting that starting job.
It's so weird. I mean, you wonder what those guys are thinking when they see a pick 'em on the depth chart. Shrags, what do you think about that move by the Colts?
It's cheeky a little bit by Steichen to the fans and to the media that we're not tipping our caps. It's also let's may the best man win, which I kind of respect in an open quarterback competition. Look, a lot of teams don't have two different top 6 draft picks on their roster, and a lot of them don't have two guys who are looking for redemption. Anthony Richardson starting the first preseason game. Okay. The second preseason game is where you usually see most of the starters out there if you're going to use them at all, and that's going to Daniel Jones. So I wouldn't necessarily say this is an early indication that Richardson has the edge on Daniel Jones, who they paid quite a bit of money this past offseason.
I think to your point, Peter, Daniel Jones has the edge, because if you're trying to see if Anthony Richardson has made a progression, you play him in as much preseason as you can. Obviously, injury always comes up, but this is a guy that needs to prove some things about playing the quarterback position. This is a real competition. Obviously, everybody knows that. But what are we finding out about Daniel Jones? What is he going to do new that we haven't seen him do playing quarterback outside of, to your point, Peter, potentially being out there with the starters? Anthony Richardson is the person that the Indianapolis Colts want to win this job. All right. I want to say that again. He is the guy they want to win this job, because we know what the future looks like with Daniel Jones. And that's looking for another quarterback at some point to take over this franchise and be their guy.